Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ljubljana Talks, recorded live at IMEX 2026 here in Frankfurt. And with Gorazd, we have another great talk ahead of us with the legend Steen Jakobsen. Welcome to our Ljubljana Talks. And perhaps for the audience, I think it will be very interesting to hear your career path until this point.
Yeah, well, thank you, and thank you so much for having me. My career started about 25 years ago in this industry. I was with wonderful Copenhagen. Out of university, I spent a couple of years working for the Danish government, and then I got a chance to join the tourist board in Copenhagen. At first, not within this industry, but more on the leisure side. After a few years, an opportunity opened up. To oversee our services towards our local suppliers and industry members. There is a network in Copenhagen called Meeting Place where 140 of the industry suppliers work together to support the development and promotion of Copenhagen as a business events destination. So I got to oversee that. Then an opportunity opened up to actually manage the convention bureau arm of wonderful Copenhagen, and I did that for about 8 years, and I really felt that I had arrived at the right spot for me. One day the phone rang, to be very frank, and it was a call from Dubai, who I had known via our involvement with the Best Cities Alliance. So I had colleagues and friends in Dubai, and they wanted to explore if I might want to come up and take a similar role like the one in Copenhagen with them in Dubai. One thing led to another, and I ended up spending 10 years managing Dubai business events that I did until recently, where I then joined GainingEdge and now have the opportunity to use a lot of the experience and knowledge I've built up over my time with Copenhagen and Dubai.
And GainingEdge is, you have such a great global experience, and Global Edge is such a well-known, probably a leading consultancy in our industry. Could you tell me, you had a big document revealed in the last days about, it was a big debate about risk communication. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so it was a project that we were commissioned by Copenhagen Convention Bureau to do. They have been on a journey since 2023, where they issued a white paper on risk assessment in our industry, which I think at that time was very foresighted. It obviously came at the back of the global pandemic and what that brought with it as of uncertainties and risks. They wanted to take another step and make it more specific and develop some operational strategies and tools that our industry can use. And we were then commissioned at GainingEdge to help them with that. So that project has been going on for the last 8 months. It was then launched yesterday here at IMEX. And it consists of two parts: a research component that sort of assesses the landscape of risk in our industry. And then the second part is a toolkit that has 14 very specific tools that both suppliers in the industry, whether bureaus and venues and PCOs, as well as associations and corporates, can use to manage and mitigate risk in the industry. And I think it's a very visionary project by Copenhagen, because if you think of the world we live in now, it's becoming increasingly complex with so many uncertainties and risks that faces us in general, and of course also this industry, and we need to be responding to that as an industry.
Steen, this is more personal question. Why so many innovations comes from Copenhagen, from Denmark? Why so?
It's a good question. Obviously, being from Copenhagen myself, it makes me proud that they take such initiatives. I think it is in the DNA of both the Copenhagen Convention Bureau, but also I think in people from Denmark in general. And when there are a convention bureau that of course has their KPIs, the amount of business they have to bring into to Copenhagen, ensure that there is impact generated from the events that happens. But they also step a little bit outside of that and do a more sort of philanthropic project. I think it's good for our industry. And there are many others that does that. Think of what Destination Canada has done on the impact measurement studies and so on. There are many examples across our industry where either convention bureaus or others take initiatives that really benefits the industry at large. And I think you can only have much respect for those that take such initiatives to lift the industry in general.
Coming back to risk management and communication, we are non-stop in the crisis mode, I would say, globally. And how good we are in this industry in crisis communication or crisis management at the end of the day.
I think we have a lot to do, to be honest. What the work we did for Copenhagen revealed is that the awareness of risk is high, and also of that a need to manage and mitigate risks is high, but there is a gap between awareness and action. And that's where the toolkit that was developed as part of the Copenhagen Risk Navigator comes in to bridge that gap towards execution and action. So there is something tangible, something operational that the industry can actually use to be better prepared for what's happening, because it is a global trend. We are talking about that we live in a time of permacrisis. One crisis comes after the other.
Influence on everybody.
Influence on everybody, and it's really been like this since the pandemic. And of course, we can't predict the future, but as such, when I try to look into a crystal ball, I can't see that the world we live in should just, at least change in the foreseeable future.
Well, talking about changing the world, there's another word that comes up a lot, and that would be legacy. And I think in many ways, both Copenhagen, Dubai are two of the destinations that really have a lot of examples of long-term legacy of events. What's your opinion on using that word, and how would you define it?
I think those are two destinations that have embraced it and taken important steps, but I think it's been a movement that's been around for quite a while, and it's supported by great initiatives, including the Iceberg across our industry and others. It's something that we need to keep pushing. I don't think we have a choice, that we demonstrate the real value of what we do in our industry way beyond economic impacts. I think a lot of good initiatives has been taken also by various convention bureaus and venues alike about developing various frameworks, approaches, and so on that makes it very specific and more usable, and for them to work with their local communities, but also to offer certain things towards associations. But we need to keep pushing that as an industry. We need to keep pushing the message along and across all the channels that we have available.
It is again, because it is a part of communication to talk about legacy and to promote it, because sometimes we would create great content, great legacy, but people don't know it's actually legacy that we're talking about. Is there another aspect of the industry that you feel, as somebody who has the insight into so many different destinations, and you get the contact into a lot of data, what would you say would be the trends that we are all kind of feeling coming up at the moment?
I think risk is something that we can't ignore. And it's something that we all need to relate to and take very, very seriously, on how can we make our industry more resilient? How can we make our individual destinations and venues and businesses, and the same with associations, how can they be more resilient? I think we need to train our resilience muscle across the entire ecosystem. One of the things, again, an interesting result that came up of the Copenhagen Risk Navigator is that only 50% of CVBs currently has a risk framework in place. About the same amount of associations, I actually think it's lower than 50%, but the majority of associations today don't have risk frameworks in place. That's something that we need to look at to be better prepared for what might happen. Again, we can't predict the future. Who would have predicted that a pandemic would hit us some years ago? No one would. But again, being prepared for the future, we cannot necessarily prepare for all possible scenarios. But the fact that you do prepare for certain scenarios and for certain things to happen makes you better prepared if something else should happen, because you have built organizational agility.
Steen, you are doing a lot of feasibility studies and pre-feasibility studies for new venues and so on. What are the hotspots globally now, from your point of view? Where the things are happening in these moments?
Things are happening in many regions of the world where we see that there are movement and continue to be movement. It is across the Middle East, a region that I know very well, across Asia also, and I think we see Africa as an up-and-coming continent. I'm very excited about the ICA Congress coming to Rwanda next year. I also noticed that that Angola has announced their convention bureau here at IMEX. And there are many other, I think, amazing initiatives that are being taken across the African continent. So I think that'll be one of the hotspots for our industry in the foreseeable future, and I think that's very exciting. That it's not only the mature markets like Europe and North America and so on, but we see other regions really are making movements.
Do you still see, or do you believe that we, in many cases, trust our guts, not to mathematics? Is this happening when you are consulting the clients? So that we really do not really count on mathematics, on analytics and so on, but we trust our guts.
Well, I guess
developing strategies, developing places, and so on.
It's not an either or. I think defining and designing strategies and taking decisions on an informed basis, on a data-driven foundation, is important. Also in our industry, which is a people industry and often can sort of be, driven by human emotions and so on, we should never shy away also from our instincts and our guts, what feels right to do. But I'm a firm believer in the importance of data and using facts and so on for us to design strategies and making decisions.
Talking about making decisions, it's also, when we look around, we're now at IMEX, it's a busy trade show, and there's a lot of exhibitors, a lot of people that have perhaps in its essence the same, but in reality different KPIs. How should we measure an attendance of an IMEX or a similar event?
Yeah, well, there is of course, for the city of Frankfurt in this case, an immediate economic impact that should not be ignored, and that is part of the story that needs to be demonstrated. But it goes much beyond that, of what our industry can do in terms of knowledge transfer and sharing of information and talent attraction and inward investments and all these fantastic things that our industry brings as additional things. We continuously need to be better at measuring them and at demonstrating and communicating all the things that an event like IMEX and conferences, meetings and exhibitions happening in other destinations, what they bring. So again, it's a continuous focus that we need to have. We need to be better at, as I said, at measuring it and at communicating it.
So when you look at the IMEX and the complexity that happens here, we can easily say that there is more than just the trade show bit. There's so many papers, so many open discussions, so much content in the other whole. Looking at it from a consultancy such as GainingEdge, what would you see as the most valuable for you?
That's a good question. Well, we are not here with a stand trying to sell of a destination or a venue as such. Still, IMEX is the most important platform that exists for us, really sort of to engage with the industry. I think the education that happens is a really important value add. So we attend and participate in a lot of the education that happens. And I think we have a responsibility also to contribute as GainingEdge towards the growth and the development of the industry. Really the most valuable thing for us is the human connections that we make here. And that should not be underestimated. The conversations that happens, both the scheduled one and the more sort of unscheduled ones, the bumping into people in the aisles during the trade show and at side events that happens, for us to meet with some of our existing clients and have conversations with potential future clients. That is really important to us, and I just love the human interaction and the connections that we have here. It's a little bit coming home to a big family gathering.
Tell us a little bit more about future plans for GainingEdge. What are your plans for the future?
Yeah, I'm here to grow and scale the company. That's my ambition, and I think we have opportunities to do that. We are looking at a number of verticals where I think we have opportunities to grow the company even more and service both existing clients, convention bureaus, venues, and associations alike. I'm also on the constant lookout for new young talent who can perhaps become part of GainingEdge, contribute to the work that we do and the value that we provide to clients. I see us do more representation for venues and bureaus in various regions of the world. I see us do more on the venue advisory side of things, and I see us be also working more closely with associations and advising associations on their meetings strategy. We're not becoming a PCO. That's not our role. But I think there's an opportunity for us to advise associations and professionalize their meeting strategy, the way they select destinations, select venues, and so on for their future meetings.
One more, Jan, from my side. Second-tier cities. Ljubljana is probably that. What can you say about it? What is the potential of second-tier cities? Like Ljubljana, Bratislava, I would say.
That potential is huge. And I think when you look at statistics of where meetings are taking place, the majority of the meetings, if you just take the ICA statistics, are taking place outside of tier 1 cities. We have seen also, I think, over the last several years, really the rise of both second and third tier cities, where there's has been a growing awareness of the importance and the value of meetings. Not only from a tourism and convention bureau point of view, but certainly also from a political point of what events can do in helping drive economic development and knowledge creation and sector development and so on, also for second and third tier cities. And with that then also comes more budgets to go out and promote cities, and then that we see that at IMEX and other industry events we have a stronger presence of non-first tier cities. So I think it's very encouraging to see.
Last but not least, we have special questions for you in this jar. So you will pick up 3 of them, then read it and answer it.
You can pick 3 now or later.
Okay. This says, which city truly understands meetings culture? There are many.
Okay.
There are many. Where should I start? I would say I have to mention the Cities of the Best Cities Global Alliance. That alliance has been around now for more than 25 years, and keep driving important agendas in our meetings industry. And there's a lot of shared knowledge and best practice and so on among those destinations. I think they do it very well. The majority of them are first-tier cities, but I wouldn't only say that it's first-tier cities that understands meetings culture. There are so many others that really does a good job.
You see, you ask these questions, you just didn't know it.
Which industry outside events understand human experience better than we do? That's a tough one. That's a really tough one. Well, I can say that after I left Dubai Business Events, I wanted to try something completely different. So I went to work in the pharmaceutical industry for a couple of years to test myself in another industry, another sector. That was a very meaningful, fantastic experience. I learned so much, but it's not a human and people's industry as much as this is. That's one thing that I can say for sure. So I've come back to my professional home, which is this industry.
Fantastic.
Which city has the best spaces for meaningful conversations? Again, there are lots. I was invited yesterday afternoon to a thinking salon organized by Destination DC that has, I think, taken a very important initiative to ensure that the spaces of Washington DC can become the fabric of events that happens in DC, and they have wonderful infrastructure that is outside the regular conference and exhibition centers, and I think they're doing a really good job to open up these venues for our industry. So we don't necessarily meet within the regular four walls with bad coffee, but that there are meaningful experiences also in terms of the infrastructure we meet in made available. So I would highlight the work that's being done with Destination DC at the moment.
Melissa Riley was going to give you a big hug.
Well, I hope so. She's a good friend of mine, but I think that they're doing a great job in making sure that the assets they have available across the city is really utilized to the fullest.
Which is great. Steen Jakobsen, thank you so much for coming to Ljubljana Talks. Finally, plenty of success with GainingEdge, and everybody listening to us, stay tuned. More great content coming up soon. Thank you.